Investigators say the 62-year-old fired 33 shots into a crowded subway car during the morning rush in Brooklyn Tuesday. 29 people were sent to the hospital. 10 of them were shot. ABC News senior investigative reporter Aaron Katersky and ABC News chief investigative reporter Josh Margolin join me now. Aaron, we just heard from the defense attorney there. It's early, but do we know more about James's defense here?
Well, the only thing that she offered, without necessarily proclaiming his innocence, was to laud his conduct after the shootings. She said that he turned himself in effectively. He's the one, she said, that called police. He's the one that gave police his location and ultimately was the one taken into custody without any incident. But she did not answer any questions as to whether she believed that he is somehow innocent or wasn't the shooter. She knows that police have amassed a number of pieces of evidence that connect Frank James to the shooting in the Manhattan-bound N train. But she did say he's entitled to a fair trial, and so she is now going to begin a defense. James was ordered held without bail, a permanent order of detention befitting the federal charge that's related to terrorism that he now faces. He did not enter a plea. Kenneth, none was required, and he didn't say much. So we're not sure what was in his head or what he's thinking now.
And Aaron, James is facing a long list of charges, federal terrorism charges. As you mentioned, he was wanted for multiple counts of attempted murder. Can we expect more charges?
Well, at the moment, he's only facing the one charge, a single count of carrying out a violent, premeditated attack on mass transit after crossing state lines. It's a clunky name for a single charge, but it does pack a punch. It does carry the possibility of life in prison. And that's not to say that more charges could be added later. At this point, we don't think he will face any state charges across the way at the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office, although that could also change over time. And the single charge, singular that it is, does encompass really the entirety of what unfolded on Tuesday. His movements into New York from Pennsylvania, where he rented the U-Haul van, and then ultimately carrying a gun, fireworks, and smoke grenades onto the subway.
And Josh, really on some of those most serious charges that James is facing, if convicted, he could face life in prison.
Well, obviously, even on the one charge that's already been filed, if he's convicted on that and he faces the maximum sentence, that is a life sentence. Additionally, we can expect that when the grand jury gets its hands on this case, you should expect that there'll be additional charges. Now, each one of them may not be a maximum sentence of life in prison, but you start ratcheting up those numbers. And as Aaron said, we have seen many times, most notably the Boston Marathon bombing, where you have charges that are filed both in federal court and in state court, and he could face multiple potential life sentences if, in fact, the Brooklyn District Attorney decides to file attempted murder charges.
And Aaron, do we know more from investigators about the motive here? Why that subway car? Why that morning?
We don't, but prosecutors said in court, Kenneth, a short while ago, that this interrupted the morning commute into Manhattan in a way that this city hasn't seen in more than 20 years, referencing the 9/11 attacks. They said that this was a premeditated attack and noted in a court filing that came before the hearing that he wore a construction vest, allegedly, and a helmet, things that he could use to blend in with the crowd. And blend in he did after the shooting, when police say he boarded the next train heading northbound, gets off one stop later, and he's off into a crowded Brooklyn before he boards a bus and then again boards the subway and rides it around until he's ultimately caught in Manhattan. But the portrait that's developing based on some of his social media posts is a defendant who is angry about any number of things, and his defense attorney asked that he undergo some psychiatric treatment while in federal custody.
And speaking of that, his mental health, Josh, we've reported about those concerning social media posts from Frank James. How could his mental health impact his defense?
Well, people often think there's going to be like a, an insanity defense. That's very, very hard, and you don't really see that happen quite as much as you see it on TV. But certainly his mental health will go into the question of, was this terrorism? The one charge that was filed yesterday, as Aaron said, is an act of committing terrorism on a mass transit system. And, lawyers are going to try to argue that this was not a politically motivated terror attack as much as, if it was anything, it was the acting out of somebody who's got some underlying mental health conditions. And we have seen that time and again in these massacres where they're committed without obvious cause.
All right, Josh, thank you so much. Just an incredible, incredible week for New York City here. And also for Josh and Aaron, thank you so much to our investigative team for all of your reporting on this story. We appreciate it. Thanks again.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.